Electoral Commission headquarters, because I have my colleague Israel Lai standing by with the EC official, the communications director. You heard about Jaman North today, and there's a back and forth. First, we heard it had been postponed to tomorrow. Then we heard it had not been postponed. Then the EC says he's instructed them to resume voting. Israel, what's the latest now?
All right, so the latest we're getting is that the Jaman North constituency vote has been rescheduled. It's going to happen tomorrow. Apparently, no voting actually took place across the constituency. No voting at all. And so the poll is going to happen tomorrow. Now, I have Mr. Jackwas, he's the head of communications at the EC, and he's going to be explaining to us why all this back and forth. Now, initially, we were told that voting had been rescheduled, the parties had agreed on the field. Then the EC came in and they actually set that decision aside. Now we're being told that the polls have been rescheduled tomorrow. What exactly is happening?
Thank you very much, Israel. The situation was just like this. Initially, there was a disagreement over figures on the transferred voters list for a particular polling station in the Jaman North constituency. The disagreement warranted a meeting of the District Security Council, and it was a very lengthy meeting, after which the decision, the issue of the transferred voters list was not settled. So the DISEC decided that no, the poll will be adjourned to the next day. But that was not within the ambit of the law, as the DISEC had no mandate to adjourn the poll. So we contacted the regional director, some of the stakeholders, the district officer, and they said that the issue of the transferred voters list was amicably resolved. All the parties have agreed on the figures of the transfer voters list, and that voting could take place. So it was then that the commission decided that look, voting must take place. The materials should be sent to all the polling stations. That was around 2 p.m. But in the attempt to send the materials to the polling stations, the community, the people again blockaded the district office of the commission, would not allow it. Now, the latest we got from the DISEC, the National Investigation and the Police Command, is that it is too late in the day. They cannot guarantee security at all the 92 polling stations of the constituency. Because of the security threat, Commission has been compelled to reschedule the election tomorrow.
All right, so why are we getting this back and forth? It tends to confuse people, because at one point we're told that the election has been postponed, and then people go home, and then they're told they have to come back. In fact, we spoke to some people who were actually in queue, waiting because they had been advised that they had to come back. And then we're getting this other information. Now, what is going to happen tomorrow? Explain to us.
Tomorrow, polls hopefully will go on as scheduled, and it will start at 7 a.m. and end at the normal time of 5 p.m. This evening, I think it's because the weather, it was getting late. The mob will not allow, the security are overwhelmed, and they knew that they cannot guarantee security at all the 92 police stations because of the time.
Now let's get something clear. Are you saying that nobody voted in any of the polling stations in the constituency?
Nobody voted. In fact, the materials could not even reach the polling stations outside town. And when it happens like this, we try to send the distant materials first, but the mob will not allow the materials to go. So in effect, materials did not reach the polling stations, and therefore voting did not start at any of the polling stations.
Let's look at the problem again. What exactly was the problem with this exceptions list or transfer?
It was a transfer voters list. That is the list of people who have transferred their votes into their constituency. Israel, we gave out the list to all the political parties. So before polling begins, you sit down and reconcile the list. They realized that the list we had some number, some people, the number was higher than the list of the other political parties. Okay, so people would not.
How's that possible?
Now they went through and they realized that there was a repetition of some names on the voters list.
On whose part? Who's repeating?
I think the repetition is on the list of the commission. Okay, but going through the list one by one, they realized that it's some names which have been repeated. So they flagged out those names. Okay, at least they've disabled one of their barcodes each. So at the end of the day, the lists have been reconciled such that they are now on the same page and they've agreed on the numbers on the transfer voters list for the exercise.
Right. So, okay, so that's the very latest we're getting from the Jaman North constituency. The EC is saying that the polls have been rescheduled. Nobody voted in the constituency. Across the constituency, none of the polling stations voted. And so voting is going to happen, or is going to take place tomorrow. And it's going to start at 7 a.m., just like everybody else in, across the country voted today. Polls opening at 7 a.m. tomorrow, and they'll close at 5
p.m.
So
no one is in the queue officially to end at 5. But once we have some people in the queue, we may have to continue until the last person votes.
Won't this affect the counting, the collation of results for the rest of the constituencies that have already voted?
No, we'll be receiving the results from the constituencies, and we're given a maximum of 72 hours for the declaration of results. So hopefully, if they finish tomorrow by 5 p.m., we can get their results and add to the results before we do the final collation.
All right, but certainly that's one constituency where the results are likely to be.
Yeah. No, the way things are, looking at the terrain across the country, you may surprise you that Jaman North may even come ahead of some other constituencies.
Okay, so that's the very latest coming from the EC.
Now, Israel, I just have one question just for clarity. So the real reason why the confusion started was because of, and just checking this with you, a discrepancy in the number of registered voters between what the EC had and what the parties were giving. Is that what it is?
It's actually the transfer list. There was a discrepancy with the transfer list that the parties had and what the EC had.
Okay. Israel, thank you very much for that clarity there. And so if you're just joining us here on your election headquarters, breaking news out of the Electoral Commission headquarters is that it's now official. Voting in the entire constituency of Jaman North has been postponed to tomorrow. Voting will begin tomorrow at 7 a.m., just as it began today. The reason the EC says is because of a security threat. And it started because of a misunderstanding between the EC and the party agents because of two separate documents that they both had as far as the transfer list is concerned. And that is what has led to the situation. And of course, because of that a mob had gathered, the parties initially jointly went into a meeting with the EC officials in Jaman North. They came out of that meeting with an agreement that postponed the elections. The EC in Greater Accra headquarters say, no, you cannot do that without our say-so. They instructed that polling should continue, but as we just learning there, it was impossible to even get the voting materials to the polling stations, 92 of them, and which is what now has led to official postponement of the elections in the Jaman North constituency.